Okay, I made a video probably close to 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks, and I didn't like it. So I didn't publish it. And I got very busy. And so here I am. Um, been taking a lot of criticism about belly buttons. But see, here's the problem with all of that. I know what a belly button is supposed to look like because I see on animals what a belly button looks like. And you know what? You can do the same thing. You can find out for yourself. If you look at primates and you look at what kind of belly button they have, that's going to be a natural birth belly button. Do you understand? That you're not going to have to be concerned over what the doctors do, or that it's not a natural born being. So, if you want to check me out on that, you go right ahead. At some point, I will make presumptions. I have said many times before that I will always give up a higher truth for one higher than that. And I will continue to do that as long as I spend my time studying. Many times I study, and the ultimate end of it all is going to be that I'm going to know after I've slept on it what the truth is. So I don't necessarily always trust what I read, and let's just be certain about that. But when I sleep, I mean, I've even figured out how to do dance steps in my sleep. So just know that ultimately anything that filters through me is going to filter through a sleep process, sometimes more than others, depending on how quickly I begin to talk about it. Now, you know, it's not easy to swallow because everybody has been told that they're all the same and that they should be all the same. But that, honestly, that's not true. And if you look at the churches of Revelation, regardless who it's written by, it's telling you ultimate judgments about those different churches. It's telling you that their candlesticks can be moved out of their places. Obviously, that's a reference to blood types. So if your blood type is a very specific blood type, it's going to be one of the seven for sure. Think about it. Anyway, uh, I see that the Pope is gearing up. You can check the translations on his Italian. That's up to you, whether or not you believe what they're presenting to you. But the Pope has come out with his confession that they have lied to us about virtually everything. And furthermore, that Sunday worship is the beast. That's the beast law. Sunday worship is the beast law. In other words, if you worship on Sunday, you're the beast. Now, don't shoot the messenger, because I've been telling you this for years because I know that Christianity is false. I mean, people, use your common sense. It's written by Romans and, altered by, the bankers in Great Britain. I'm watching a TV show right now someone suggested that I take a look at it. And I took a look at it and I said, you know what? I don't really have time to binge watch on this, but I'm already up through almost the 4th season of it. And I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt that the TV show, The 100 from the CW, is literally, no question about it. It's literally, the sky people are the O negatives. The grounders, and even those that live in the mountain, in other words, under the ground, are the RH positives. Nowhere in there, in this movie, does it tell the story of A and B negatives. Why should it? It's post-apocalyptic. Think about that. I've even got it where the producers of the show are being asked what blood, because blood is so important in this show. What exactly, is the blood type of the sky people, the so-called sky people, which is mainly what the TV show is about. And they said, oh, negative. Now, they do have a warrior class of highborn blood. Some people are going to ask me, what about the, the nulls, the RH null? I don't know about the RH null. Haven't studied about it. Have a tendency to say, if there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blood types, why does there need to be another one? There doesn't. But, that's like every single possibility of a nutrient that you can get is now synthesized. So why couldn't they do that to blood? Think about it. You believe what you want to believe. So anyway, a couple of things that I want to do before I get started. One of the things that I want to do is tell you that with regard to the belly buttons, there is no question in my mind that a normal belly button is under attack. Talking about an outie. They want you to believe that's a hernia because they want to demonize an outie belly button, even though that's what the primates have. You can't be a porn star in the industry if you have an outie. Hello? What's that all about? Some of these belly buttons are so deep you can stick your entire finger in them. It is my belief, you believe what you want to, there is a tremendous amount of people here right now that have always been here. If you go back to the Sumerian texts and what Enki and Nagashita and who is Thoth, okay? They have pretty much said that Thoth's emerald tablets were written by a charlatan guy, snake oil salesman, that, just wrote a book, just made up some stuff and said it was Thoth. Now, I know it might speak to some of you. But I want you to try to understand in this realm, it isn't words that speak to you. It isn't about words. It's about what's in your heart. And if you don't have no love in your heart at all, which is basically your RH positives, that's your loss of connection with the Creator. And if you don't have that, you don't have a soul. You're not a soul man or a soul woman. So you're not equal. Do you understand? You're missing something. Can you get it back? Well, you have to understand that I read the Clementine homilies, which is about the guy that tried to buy the Holy Spirit from the apostles. I'm talking about Simon the sorcerer, and how everywhere he went, he fed the multitudes meat, and he gave sermons, and he talked about this and that, much like your evangelists do today. Notice that your evangelists never, ever, ever talk to you about not eating meat, even though it's on the first page of the very Bible that they use. At the bottom of the page, verse 29. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, every one of them is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And if you know of a minister who is a vegan, I'd like to know. I'd like to know his name. Because frankly, I don't believe it. I think they're all wolves in sheep's clothing. The wolves are there in packs every time you go. And some of you look around because you don't have eyes to see, and you can't see all the wolves because you're sheep. And the sheep have been taught, if you don't pick your eyes up and look at them, they won't attack you. But you're right there sitting next to them. How are you going to stop from looking at them and seeing what I've seen with my own eyes? How many sheriffs do you think I've sheriffs that I've told that when this is over and you see me again, you're not going to like it? I don't care what you do to me in this realm. Okay? You can choose to do whatever you think you need to do, but when this is over, you're going to pay me back in kind. You'll see. I can promise you that. And you better hope that I am with heart when I have to deal with your dirty asses. Because I'm telling you right now, you are under karmic law, whether you believe it or not. You can pay for it in this life if you choose. Or you can pay for it in the next. Either way, you're going to pay. It's just that simple. So just know that. Now, I get asked all the time, what kind of books am I getting all this information from? So I'm going to share a few with you. I tend to like books like this. Scientific Vegetarianism. I tend to like books like Treasury of Raw Foods. All of these can be found Edmund Bordeaux Zekeli. Yeah, I don't know if you can read his name there. But these are basically Essene books for Essene training in Essene schools. And that's because the Essenes did not eat, dead things, okay? Their food was live. And in order for it to be legal for them to eat, they had to eat fruit and what you might call vegetables today, but if they've got seed within them, cucumbers, zucchinis, tomatoes, all that stuff is not vegetables. Mm-mm. That's a trick that they do to get the Rh positives to eat them. Because they hate the Creator so badly that they won't eat any of the food that they're supposed to eat. So they've tricked them. And that's how that works. And then I haven't read this book to completion, but I like to read books that are known to be great books for survival. Jethro Claus, Back to Eden. So it's a guide, and it gives you great information. I read The Invisible Rainbow, and this is another book, Truth About Contagion, where they tell you, yeah, parasites exist, and yes, you can pass them back and forth, but that's not the same as you getting sick from somebody without them, touching you, and usually it's through sex or kissing that you're going to get their parasites. You could get them possibly from sleeping with them in the same bed, but a baby can get them from their mother in the womb. Anyway, now I'm not playing your stinking game when it comes to sovereignty. I am sovereign. And my answer to everything that you ask is no. No, no, I do not understand. No, I do not consent. No, I do not accept. No, I'm not going to let you hear me. I'm not here for you to hear me. No, the answer is no to everything. I give you nothing. I give you this advice. Leave now while you can. That's my advice. Because once you get to a certain place and you don't have no more options, you're going to deal with the, effects of the sun. Which is what the TV show The 100 is about. It's about radiation. Yeah. Ultimately, I've not seen the end of the show, but it's also going to be about ascension. Now, what is ascension? Just real quick, these are books you can get. Meet Your Straw Man, Common Law Handbook, UCC Connection, How to Free Yourself from Legal Tyranny, Correct Your Political Status. Just to let you look at some of these. And I bought most of these when I was in jail. And just for the record, they would not deliver them to me in jail. They wouldn't allow it. See these guys right here on the cover? Those are all Freemasons. So what? So what? They're no better than you or me. In fact, they're not as good. These are just a few. I have a large collection. I Want to Be Left Behind tells the story of how the false doctrine of rapture came about and how the church in Scotland is the one that promoted it. Of course, one of my favorite books, and I would just get this in PDF because it's free, and get the whole 5 books. What does that say? Targum of Onkeos and Jonathan ben Uziel. That's the same thing I keep talking about, the Targum of Palestine. It's the same book. And then one of my all-time heroes, because of what he stood for, because I always tend to like men who will stand up to the authority figures and tell him what he really thinks. And this is John Allegro, The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth. By the way, the myth of Christianity is that it's a mushroom cult. It's about getting high and going places where you definitely are going to lose your, you can't even remember half the time where you've been, what you've done, what contracts you've made, because you are not, operating on a level plane. You are high as a kite. Okay? So John Allegro exposes this, but you've got your own Pope telling you now that the Sabbath laws are Sunday is the beast. It's the mark of the beast. And that Saturday is the true Sabbath. Well, let me just explain this to you. Okay? That's always their plan, to drive you in the direction that they want to herd you. Of course, they're going to tell you that the seventh day is the Sabbath. Why wouldn't they tell you that? That's what Enki declared when he got here. That the seventh day was the Sabbath. But while the Pope's talking about all this, he doesn't mention one word about what they're going to do about Islam. Because remember, Muhammad, no offense, peace be upon his head, no offense to any Muslims who might look at this, but Muhammad was married to a Catholic woman, okay? And just for your record, because I pretty much, I'm certain that many of you, Muslims, Islamics, have not done your homework where Muhammad is concerned when it talks about his death and how he had become like the saints, a living saint. Because he was not eating dead things for years. And for some reason, a woman fed him his last meal and it was meat. And he was poisoned. Now, before you get yourself hot-headed, just know that I had this conversation with my friend who's Islamic, whom we worked together for years together and did real well. We were very successful together in business. And he is a friend of mine. And the first time I mentioned Muhammad to him, he told me, watch it. And I knew to say, peace be upon him. And of course, we wish that for all saints. But I told him this story, and he went and he looked it up and he said, you're right. You're right. I looked it up. You're right. Okay. So we can learn from Muhammad, that we've got no business eating these dead things for food. In this Clementine homilies, Simon the sorcerer was feeding everybody meat. And Peter would go behind him and try to undo everything he did. Because the apostles practiced what they preach, which The Catholic Church has held back these truths of the gospel. That these men, whatever their names were, whoever they really were, whatever, okay? And it wasn't Jesus, okay? Whoever they were vegan and vegetarian. And the Essenes were. In fact, again, the Essenes did not have their Sabbath on Saturday. They did not have their Sabbath on Sunday. Yet they were responsible for teaching the first people that became Christian. But remember, the Romans fashioned the Christians in their own image. So they're not true Christians. In fact, that word Christian is suspect to begin with. Christ, that comes all the way back from India. Christos. So it's all Mystery Babylon. Daughters of the great harlot, abomination of the earth, Mystery Babylon the Great. And in the Book of Mormon, it's referred to as the great and abominable church, abominable above all other churches that left out the plain and precious parts of the gospel. And Bruce R. McConkie, who was a president, wrote a book, and he literally named the Catholic Church as Mystery Babylon in his book. In the second edition, that was taken out. Wasn't long before Bruce was gone, just so you know. The Catholic Church is a church for canine people that eat flesh. Esau is the king of that church. Marduk is the king of that church. Okay? The O negatives, the Jesuits, they hide behind a syllable, shu. So they're trying to say Jesus, Yeshua. You understand? But none of that matters because we see what they do to children and to women. Yeah, my daughter's been a part of that. Still is trying to get past it. Yeah. That's something I know about. This is why I've told them every chance I get, next world, your ass is mine. I got you. I got you right where I want you. And the only thing we have to do is get to the next world. I don't forgive my enemies until I see that they're repentant of the treatment that they've given to me, my kind, my family. You understand? These TV shows are never about us. They're about two groups, the O negatives and the RH positives, and they are yoked together, people. And they can't get along, but they're still yoked together because they can't make it here without each other. Same as it was when the Anunnaki got here. And remember, they still called their Agigi Anunnaki. Remember? They had them that worked in the caves, digging out their gold, that were not happy, always threatening rebellion. By the way, where did they come from? I just had this book in my hand. Let's see what I have done with it. Yeah, here we go. This is where they came from, people. What does the word heaven mean? Could it be a mistranslation? It's actually haven. What is a haven? It's a coastal, place that is deemed to be safe. A haven. There you go. They're not getting out of here. And then finally, these are the real bastards. These are the ones that have no heart. They're the ones in all your songs. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto, for giving me a place to hide. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. Anunnaki brought you in, didn't he? Made slaves out of you, and then, left you here knowing that you were not fit to lead anyone and put you in charge. What a mistake that was. Because you don't have a heart. Now, I'm not wanting to kill any of you. I'm not wanting you dead. Okay? I haven't cursed you to death. Now, the hierarchy that you come from, that may be a different story. They may be too far gone because they've allowed this to go on too long. But I just don't want to be around you. And my message to you at this juncture is get out. Get out. This is not your home. You don't belong here. Nobody wants you. Go while you still can. Go back to where you came from. Go back to where you came from. Troublemakers on the earth. Troublemakers on the earth. T-M-O-T-E. Timote. Timote. There's a good word for you. You can use that when you talk to them. Timote. Troublemaker on the earth. Timote. That's what they are. And they've been doing it for thousands of years, and nothing ever gets better. Meet the new boss, the same as the old boss. Anyway, I'm going to read to you and prove to you that Byrd, Admiral Byrd, who is no slouch, he's a bona fide war hero from World War II, and he was a politician, and he was apparently very popular with the Anunnaki. Let's look and see what it says here in his memoirs when he talked to Enlil, which is the only person this could have been. He called him the master. It says, the master's eyes seemed to penetrate deeply into my mind, and after studying me for a few moments, he replied, your race has now reached the point of no return, for there are those among you who would destroy your very world rather than to relinquish their power as they know it. That seems pretty accurate. I nodded, and the master continued. In 1945 and afterwards, we tried to contact your race, but our efforts were met with hostility. Our flugel were fired upon. In other words, they're little saucers. Yes, even pursued with malice and animosity by your fighter planes. So now I say unto you, my son, there is a great storm gathering in your world, a black fury that will not spend itself for many years. Now, I wonder where they got this technology of this great storm. Did they get it from these bastards? I think they did. Talking about the harp. The name itself tells you that it came from angels. Angelos. Anunnaki. Do you understand? It says there will be no answer in your arms. There will be no safety in your science. It may rage on until every flower of your culture is trampled and all human things are leveled in vast chaos. Your recent war was only a prelude of what is yet to come for your race. We here see it more clearly with each and every hour. Do you say, I am mistaken? A bird says, no. I answer, it happened once before. The Dark Ages came, and they lasted for 500 years. Now, what is Bird talking about? Is he talking about the mud floods? Who provided us with all of these orphans on the orphan trains that were born in like 1900, that they continually, viewed in windows during the state fairs, tried to find homes for these children as indentured servants, and every one of them is premature. Every single one. I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. They're all premature. People, that's clones in the 1900s. And you'll say, well, they're just now able to do that. No. They've been doing that since the beginning. See, you can't believe a word they say because they're liars. They will literally tell a lie, like the Anunnaki rock opera. They will convince themselves of a lie and that it's good. And when I watch this TV show, The 100, oh my God, it's unbelievable the number of times that they will justify their retarded behavior. And these are O negatives that are supposed to be smarter. And they haven't fooled any of the RH positives at all. No. I'm telling you, RH positive A and Bs, you have more of a kinship with us than you do with them. And you should be thinking about getting yourself back to a place where you can receive your soul back. Now, when the householder returns and finds his house taken over and ransacked and ruined, what is he going to do? You better start thinking about that. We're living in the time, people. People used to tell me, oh, we're not, it's not in our lifetime. They don't tell me that anymore. So I'm not sure where I left off, but yes, even pursued with malice, animosity by your fighter planes. So now I say to you, my son, there's a great storm gathering in your world, a black fury that will not spend itself for many years. There will be no answer in your arms. There will be no safety in your science. It will rage on until every flower in your culture is trampled and all human things are leveled in vast chaos. Your recent war was only a prelude of what is to come for your race. We here see it more clearly with each hour. Do you say that I am mistaken? 500 years the Dark Ages lasted, according to Byrd, who would have known a different history book than the one we're reading out of for sure. Yes, my son, replied the master, the Dark Ages that will come now for your race will cover the earth like a pall. But I believe that some of your race will live through the storm. Beyond that, I cannot say. We see a great distance a new world stirring from the ruins of your race, seeking its lost and legendary treasures. See, this is the part that bothers me about this. They do this every time. This is not the first that they've had a reset. They do this every time. You see? I just want you to leave and go away and not influence this world with us in it anymore. That's what I want. I'm giving you time to do that now. But, we'll reach a point where that's not going to get it. It's not going to cut it. And you know it, and I know it. It says, we shall come forward again to help revive your culture and your race. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. You stay out of it. You stay out of it. We don't want the consequences of your help, because we now know that you are like a virus that won't leave. We won't be able to get rid of you. You'll try and try and try until you get everything. Everything. And we're not going to stand for that anymore. Perhaps by then you will have learned the futility of war and its strife. No, we know that. It's you that won't learn that. And after that time, certain of your culture and science will be returned to your race to begin anew. Keep it. Keep it. Because everything that you give us has a price tag on it, so that you can stay involved. That's how you keep yourself, thinking that you are our gods, and you're not. You're not, and you never will be. You're no better than we are. History has proven that. If we hadn't learned anything else, we've learned that. You, my son, are to return to the surface world with this message. With these closing words, our meeting seemed at an end. I stood for a moment as in a dream. See, it is like a dream. See, like what happened was when I was in jail, they literally put something in the water. They had a big sign on the door with an explanation about how the water level was down, and that would explain the powder in the water, and the color of the water being cloudy. And then hallucinations began. And the next thing you know, I have a 5-second recollection of some place I was. But no more than that. No more than that. See, this is how they operate. You have no idea what you did when you were there, but it doesn't matter because it's not legal. I didn't ask to be put on mushrooms, okay? I didn't ask for that. In fact, I completely rejected it. See, I am not going to be your representative in this. I'm not going to be it. I don't want to be anything special. I just want you to go and don't come back. Do not darken our doorstep ever again. Go. Go now while you can before the sun gets you. Because right now you're under protection. But that won't last for what you've caused. It says, with these closing words, and it says, suddenly I was again aware of the two beautiful hosts that had brought me here, were again at my side. This way, Admiral Byrd mentioned one. I turned once more before leaving and looked back towards the master. A gentle smile was etched on his delicate face, delicate and ancient face. Farewell, my son, he spoke. Then he gestured with a lovely, slender hand, a motion of peace, and our meeting was truly ended. The problem is you're not trustworthy. You cannot be trusted. So get out. If you weren't here, there wouldn't be no war. If you weren't here, there wouldn't be no pedophiles. If you weren't here, women would not be treated like mafia women, where these bastards, have no regard for women whatsoever. All they do is trash them and sell their bodies. That's what Damien Ratliff did to my daughter. Personally, I'm glad you're in jail because that means you're not hurting anybody. And it's a real taste of where you're going. Now, don't come crying to me. Oh, please let us out. No, 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 no. You're going to do your time. Now, your kind will let you out because they're running the show right now. Okay? But we're not going to let you out to have you do this all over again. You had an opportunity to behave yourself, and you decided not to do it. Anyway, this is Enlil, no question about it. Enlil is the highest level one here. Inky may not like it, but he lives in the sea. So he's the Lord of the sea, and Enlil's the Lord of the air that's inside the bowl. He's not going anywhere either. He's stuck here just like Inky is. And at some point we may get a visit from Anu. So what? So what? We'll send him packing too. Do not make any agreements with these people. Do not. You'll regret it. You already do, whether you know it or not. This is how they operate. Silver tongue, master, oratory master, devils with forked tongues. They lie, they cheat, they steal. They can't be trusted. Not in this world or the next. That's my stance, and I'm sticking there. Now let's talk about Donald Marshall. Donald Marshall is my favorite one of them. There you go. There's Donnie's book. This is the one that I'm reading now. And let's see, the other one, let's see. the one that this is Exposing the Illuminati's REM-Driven Human Cloning Subculture, Volume 2. But the one I'm going to read to you from is Full Disclosure Empowerment by Virtue of the Golden Truth. Human cloning, specifically REM-driven human cloning. So we'll start here. Okay. Okay. Let me just change the size a little bit. There we go. Yes. 2 types of cloning techniques. Now, there are 2 different types of cloning techniques. There is replication cloning and duplication cloning. Okay. Keanu Reeves made one about replicating cloning. I'm not talking about, you know, the, I can't remember the name of it now, but you know his one that they made a 4th one just recently. Anyway, replication cloning is a type of cloning the public has generally heard of. Replication cloning involves taking the nucleus, the DNA, out of the donor egg and replacing it with new DNA from the person to be cloned. After a few days, the resulting embryo can be implanted for pregnancy. Now, you understand what's going on here? A woman has an egg. Now it's literally, you know, becomes a clone of a person not related to her, nor her husband. Can that happen to a married woman? Married women have complained about being abducted. So this is replication cloning, right? The newborn starts life off as a genetic copy of an original. Now, we already know from our experiences that, you know, Donald has taught that each time they recreate a new copy, the clone becomes more and more stupid until eventually it's like a serial killer. You know, you have to have handlers to basically overpower them so that they can't bite somebody's finger off. And the good movie that I mentioned is the one about the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, and I believe Elizabeth Banks is in that movie. I would see it because John Cusack, great movie. Younger version of him, another actor playing the part, another good actor. Anyway, see this movie and you're going to see, they're going to show you exactly how cloning works when they have to have somebody watched at all times because they don't know what they'll do next. Duplication cloning, on the other hand, is the second hidden method and type of cloning where DNA from the person is grown in a big, thick tank full of salty water. It involves a method of regenerative technology where the cells are agitated, and over the course of 5 months, a fully formed duplicate clone of an original is developed. Now, see, that's what happens when Britney Spears dies. Or, and you can look that up on Google. Or, you know, Madonna dies. Or Elvis dies. Or whoever, you know, that dies, you know, they don't have no soul. You understand? So they just keep making them and putting them in new places, just like the movie that we saw. I saw it, I don't know, 3 times, 4 times. I can't remember. I can never remember the name of this movie, but it's the one where Neil McDonough is the devil, and he is sending these people to different places. So that's how the Rh positives and the O negatives are operated. But see, they're not soul men and women. Now, they like to pick on women. So they will literally, I've watched all the Rh negative women. I talked to one on the phone earlier today, crying to me about her situation with, being yoked because they got tricked. And because they looked around at church and they said, well, we're all the same. Because what they teach in our government and in church. Except the problem is some of these people do not have a soul. They have no connection with the Godhead where they can be told in their sleep or whatever to do the right thing. No. So they just continually, traffic their women, pedophile their children, lay up riches, throw people, because they're all landlords, throw people out on the street. I could go on and on and on and on. These are just a few things I've seen. A fully formed duplicate clone body of an original is developed. That's in 5 months. The Illuminati used to use a tissue sample from the original or the cells from a woman's pap smear. Make sure that you're not giving your pap smear away because this contained rich cells to make duplicate clones. They also used children's foreskins which were discarded at the hospital that got removed. That is what happened to me. This is Donald talking. I had my foreskin removed at age 4, and by age 5, the Illuminati grew duplicate clones of me. Now the Illuminati say they have upgraded the technology since 2000, and now all they need is the blood from the original. See, you're giving your blood away at the blood banks. See how that works? They then agitate the blood cells over and over again through the regenerative technology until a fully formed duplicate clone body of an original is produced. For readers who are unfamiliar with regenerative procedures, see Dr. Stephen Badylak's video on how to grow a new fingertip. Science Channel 2014, Carmichael 2013, which discusses how scientists cloned a mouse from a blood sample. This is another example of drip feed disclosure. Regenerative Science and Medicine, CBS 2008, does work. I've seen it many times. Now, he goes on to talk about the different grades of clones, Mark 1 to Mark 4. Pay attention. Says there are a few different grades of clones that I know of. There is Mark 1 to Mark 5 clones. Mark 1 clones are available at the end of the World War II, 1945. Mark 1 clones were rapid eye movement, REM, driven clones, but they were primitive grades of cloning with lots of side effects, calls to the original. Mark 1 REM driven clones were called organic robotoids. That doesn't look like a robot to you. That's an organic robot. Thank you, Mr. Roboto. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Thank you very much for giving me a place to hide. There you go. Even though there are no robotic parts to clone at all. See, they're organic. See Dr. Peter Berg's discussion on organic robotoids, Beater 2011. Donald Marshall's dilemma with Mark II sleep-driven REM clones. The problem I'm having with the Mark II REM-driven clones, Mark II is a rapid eye movement REM-driven clone. In other words, Mark II are sleep-driven clones. REM sleep is the fifth stage of sleep. The first REM cycle usually happens 90 minutes to 110 minutes after we fall asleep. What that means is currently this is the Illuminati's main form of communication. They do not call people on the phone. They do not meet at the Bohemian Grove anymore. They only meet there once a year for traditional purposes. In other words, rituals and sacrifices. Since they discovered the science of sleep-driven cloning, they meet at the cloning center when they go to sleep. So this is making a case for you that when you're dreaming, this is where you literally could be. And when your dreams are vivid, this is what literally could be happening. Now, he goes on in other videos to talk about how they take away your memories and then give them to you all at once. That's going to be a real hootenanny. So when they go to sleep, the cloning center is a physical location located 5 to 6 hours radius from Robert Pickford Farm, Port, I can't say this name of this town, but it's in British Columbia, Canada, at a nature reserve, Coquitlam. Consciousness transfer happens when the original reaches REM sleep. The Illuminati can transfer the consciousness of an original once the person reaches REM sleep. If there is a duplicate clone of the original at the cloning center, once the person goes to sleep 90 to 110 minutes after falling asleep. So what happens is that the consciousness of the original is transferred to the duplicate clone. The duplicate clone body is grown within 5 months by regenerative technology. Once the original reaches REM sleep, the original's consciousness is transferred from the original's body, although the original's body is still in their bed, asleep at home, to a duplicated REM-driven clone body at the cloning center, and the original wakes up as a clone version of himself, herself, At the cloning center, it is a great marvel of science and one man's greatest achievements, but it is kept hidden and used for sinister purposes, which I discuss below. I must address the readers at this point who are lost at the thought of duplication cloning and the consciousness transfer. For readers who may have difficulty understanding the process of duplication cloning, see the videos which feature Dr. Stephen Badylak. Badylak describes and illustrates how a new fingertip can be grown within 4 weeks by the process of regenerative technology. Duplication cloning, a similar way involving regenerative technology, whereby the cells are agitated, and over the course of 5 months, a fully formed duplicate clone body of the original is grown. Now, they don't necessarily look identical, okay? It's one thing Donald has covered. They're definitely not as smart. This is why He continually said in his videos that Queen Elizabeth was retarded in 7 ways. That's what he's talking about. Moreover, readers should also view the Horizon documentary, Why Do We Dream? The documentary clearly explains the phases of sleep, particularly REM sleep. The documentary also clearly explains that during REM phase, sleep, the whole body shuts down and it's only the brain which is active. The fact that the brain is still active, although the body is inactive, is a perfect opportunity for consciousness transfer. And this is usually the moment the Illuminati transfer of consciousness of a person who is asleep to be to a clone version of himself, herself. The reader should also explore Erson's lecture on consciousness transfer. In the video, Erson, 2013, clearly explains how through the first-person visual perspective, seeing through the eyes and through the synchronos occurring at the same time, stimulation of a body part, individuals can perceive and see the world from another body different from their own. In other words, so long as a person can see through the eyes and the body is stimulated, the match between the visual perspective and the feeling body sensations allows the individual to see and perceive the world through another body different from their original. The consciousness has been transferred to another body. Erson also demonstrates that consciousness is linked once consciousness is transferred from the original's body to a new body, even though the new body is not the person's original body. When the new body is attacked because the person perceives the world through the new body, everything feels very real. When the new body for which the person's consciousness has been transferred to is attacked, the original still perceives the threat as real. And therefore, the person displays a biological and physiological fear response in their original body. And the heart rate increases and does respiration, breathing rate, as well as anxiety. Now, interesting thing, I had my heart start racing about 2 weeks ago while I was having a dream about one of my good friends that lives several states over. As I woke up, I saw light literally leaving my chest. And as soon as I opened my eyes, I threw my arms up in the air to see if it was physical or if it was just a light, and it turned out to be just a light. So I'm just telling you, they're probably already mucking with you. If they're mucking with me, they're mucking with you. And let me tell you something. I fight them all day long. Okay? Because I do hear voices telling me to do stupid, retarded stuff. Okay? But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm not going to do the kind of stupid shit they do. Okay? Just not going to do it. So, I am peaceful. Okay? I mean you no harm. I don't need to hurt you that way. You're going to hurt your own self. See, I live in natural law, so I know that you cannot hurt me. You can only hurt yourself by trying to hurt me. So you just go ahead. Go ahead and do whatever you're going to do. Donald Marshall is an original as he sits at home typing this disclosure. This is how advanced technology works today. This is also exactly what happens to me. I am an original as I sit at home here typing this disclosure. But when I enter REM sleep, my entire body shuts down and only my brain is active. The Illuminati have linked my consciousness to a REM-driven duplicate clone body of me. Therefore, as soon as I enter REM sleep, they are alerted to the fact that I have entered stage 5 of the sleep cycle and in REM sleep, because they have a green and red light above the duplicate clones at the cloning center. The red light indicates that the original is awake. The green light lets them know that the original is entered in REM phase. So you see, they get the green light because now, they can take the clone out there, put them in gladiator fights, or have them have sex with Britney Spears or whatever, Ariana Grande, whatever. Okay, you see what's going on there? They got nothing better to do than make, lascivious dreams and, dreams of torture for you. That's all they can do. They cannot transfer the consciousness of an original before REM phase or when the original is awake. When they try and transfer consciousness before an original is in REM phase, that makes the original have intense headaches. Setting an alarm every 90 minutes to wake up, then go back to sleep, also does not work in terms of avoiding REM sleep and having your consciousness transferred, because the body requires REM sleep. Well, all of that is great, but if you drink a lot of water, you're going to get up and pee all night, and that's okay with me. And that's what I do. I'm going to bed, getting up and peeing all night long. See, that's one way I fight them. And therefore, you become very tired quickly if you do not get REM sleep. If you stay awake for 4 days without REM sleep, you begin to hallucinate. After 7 days without REM sleep, you will die. See how they got it set up? See, these bastards have got to be accountable for what they have done here. No question about it. No ands, ifs, or buts. They got to be held responsible. When Donald Marshall's REM-driven clone experiences began, the whole sordid episode began when I was 5 years old after going to the doctors to get my foreskin removed at age 4. The tissues from the discarded foreskin were used to grow multiple duplicate clones of me. Within months, I was having a unconscious transfer to a REM-driven 5-year-old clone, pardon me, version of myself every time I entered REM sleep. The reason the Illuminati did this was because they wanted to use me as what they call a diddle kit. In other words, they wanted to have sex with an REM-driven 5-year-old duplicate clone version of me. This is what they do. They clone people. They make duplicate clones of people to victimize them in terrible ways. And they clone children for men with underdeveloped penises to have sex with. This is just disgusting. I mean, honestly, let me tell you something. If I find you, I may have to rip your freaking ears off. I'm telling you. If I find you, I'm just telling you. You better hope I don't find you. And I'm told by Donald Marshall that these are Freemasons too that are doing this. However, I could never remember any of these REM-driven clone experiences when I woke up for 25 years, because another aspect of REM-driven cloning is that the Illuminati have the advantage of being able to suppress the experiences of people who have their consciousness transferred to their REM-driven duplicate clone versions through advanced memory suppression technologies. For the reader who wishes to understand how memory suppression works, see Winter 2014. Memories are stored and retrieved from different parts of the brain. Interaction between the cerebral cortex, the outer layer of the brain, and the hippocampus need to work together in order to bring the memories out of the mental storage to be re-experienced by the mind. Therefore, all that has to be done is for them to turn off the nerve cells which communicate with the cerebral cortex and the hippocampus. For the evening which you went to sleep and had your consciousness transferred to an REM-driven duplicate clone version of you, and you will not remember anything. The technology is so advanced, they can and do suppress memories at a push of a button. Therefore, the victim wakes up the next morning and will not remember the single REM-driven duplicate clone experience. All that they will be aware of is that they did not have a dream the previous night, because you're wiped. You see how that works? This is what happened to me over 25 years. I wasn't allowed to remember these REM-driven duplicate clone experiences until I turned 30. My memories were suppressed for 25 years. I would wake up many days after a night's sleep thinking I didn't have a dream last night. Or I would wake up the next morning and I would be sick. Although I went to sleep the previous night feeling completely healthy. Throughout the years, I thought I had a terminal illness because whenever I went to see a doctor, the diagnosis would always come back that there was nothing wrong with me. However, and trust me when I tell you, the mafia doctors are fully aware of what's happening to you. Absolutely, positively, they're fully aware of what's going on with you. Try getting out of one of them what your blood type is. The only way you will ever get them to tell you is if your blood type has changed, which they can do through transfusions. People don't give anybody your blood. Just don't do it. If you need to, get your blood taken and stick it in your freezer. The Illuminati were using me to produce songs, lots and lots of songs, and whenever I could not produce a song or did not want to, they would stab my REM-driven clone body, sodomize my REM-driven clone body, chain me to a crucifix and burn my REM-driven clone and torture me for all kinds of different reasons. And even when I was compliant and did what they told me to do, I was attacked simply because some members of the Illuminati wanted to know what it feels like to stab someone. Now, because of consciousness is linked, all these REM clone torture experiences affected me in my original body, and I have a weak heart today because of it at the age of 39. The memories of my REM clone driven experiences also had to be released to me slowly. See all for 2014. Thinking 2014. For an example of how memories can be wiped and restored over the course of many months, because I had been through so much horror and torture that if the memories were released at once, I would have had a heart attack in my real body and died. This is one of the main reasons the Illuminati currently use REM sleep-driven cloning, besides sex and torture, to plagiarize talented people under duress There are many people, including me, who have been and are plagiarized on a daily basis. That includes, all the science that they've suppressed, all of the, you know, uh, you know, anything they've stolen from a person. Like, for example, a car that'll run on water. And then they'll have it, copywritten. And they own it, which will never see the light of day. See, that's how they do it. Effing bastards of the highest order we're talking about here. Forgiving them? Are you kidding me? I wouldn't even think of it. They're counting that you'll forgive your enemies. They're counting on that. And they will torture you if they can and make you forgive them. Is that really right or fair? No, of course not. But it gives them, a feeling of power and control. In the end, it isn't going to help them. The creator of all beginning knows the difference. Do you understand? It's like the movie, Disclosure, with Demi Moore and Michael Douglas. How many times did he need to say no before you would stop? Demi? Here we go. Their consciousness is transferred to the REM-driven clone alternates. And night after night, and under duress, they are forced to reveal their money-making ideas or face torture or clone death. Clone death after clone death. This is what the movie Inception is about. REM sleep-driven cloning and stealing ideas from the minds of unsuspecting individuals. The Illuminati actually made the film Inception, as well as The Island, Avatar, The Sixth Day, and films mentioned above contain references to cloning and REM-driven cloning to show off the Illuminati's power and throw them in the world's face and laugh. You won't be laughing when I'm done with you. I don't care. You will not be laughing when I'm done with you. All right. We're getting close to time. It says the science of REM-driven cloning began in 1945. Maybe. But cloning, it's been around since the beginning. I'm not saying Donald doesn't know a lot, but if you just read the Anunnaki Sumerian text, you're going to find out they were doing this back in the day. They probably did this to the Agigi. Here's a clone that will do what he's told and have nobody interfering between us and them. No interference. In other words, God can't interfere between us and them. We tell them what to do and they just do it. I am one of the few people, fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, who remembers all the REM-driven cloning experiences because of the memories were released to me at the age of 30. I remember many people who had attended and still attend the cloning center where they bring me to over the course of 34 years. I am currently 39 years old and was brought there since the age of 5. The science of REM sleep-driven cloning was first discovered in 1945, and at first it was just a political thing which leaders of the world did. Through the science of REM sleep-driven cloning, political figures, heads of state, and royalty met each other as REM-driven clone versions of their selves. When they went to sleep and discussed worldly affairs and complete secret with each other, they also did whatever they wanted with each other as REM-driven clones, which they could not do in their original bodies, such as sex, fighting each other to death, jumping off of cliffs as the REM-driven clones, and just about everything that you can think of. When one has the ability of pseudo-immortality as a sleep-driven clone version of themselves hidden from the guise of the world and the general public. Ooh, this is going to get good. Hang in there with me. It says, well, they soon got bored with each other very quickly and started to make REM-driven clones of movie stars, musicians, celebrities, and public figures from all walks of life to hang with the REM-driven clones. And now they all get together for disgusting time as REM-driven clones when they all go to sleep. Most of the G20 political leaders meet at the cloning center as REM-driven clones when they go to sleep to discuss worldly matters and watch gruesome things done to innocent and unsuspecting civilians who are also REM sleep-driven clones at the cloning center, but the civilians have had their memories suppressed. This is what the film Hostel, Hostel Part 2, Hostel Part 3, 2006, 2007, and 2011. Illuminati made films are about rich people paying to torture and kill innocent people at the secluded location for sport. Just that at the cloning center, the Illuminati members torture and kill REM-driven clones of innocent people. Therefore, depending on what was done to your REM-driven clone, you could wake up the next day with a very intense headache in your original body. If your REM clone was repeatedly punched in the head, an upset stomach in your original body, if your internal organs were tortured, achy limbs, and worst of all, feel sick all over. Although the previous evening you went to sleep feeling healthy. Remember, consciousness is linked. Therefore, whatever happens to your REM-driven clone will affect you in the original body. Even when they suppress your memory and previous night's experience still affects you in your original body. You wake up with the knowledge that you did not dream the previous evening when you went to sleep, and certain illnesses depending on what was done to your REM-driven clone. Okay, let's see where we are. This is the end. Now, I'll pick up here on page 47, but just know that, you know, these are eternally retarded people. And they will be held responsible for what they do. They're trying to avoid death so that they don't have to meet their maker face to face. But it isn't going to matter because sooner or later that's going to happen anyway. All right. It explains, you know, they try to make us sound like the problem. The problem is them, clearly. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. They are the problem. So anyway, I've given you some names of books. If you go back to the beginning, I've given you commentary. I've talked about belly buttons. Some of you aren't going to like it. I'm not here to bow down to you. So yelling at me isn't going to get you nothing. I'm not here to make friends, to be popular. You apparently thought that's why I do this. No. No. I do this with one idea in mind and one idea only, and that is we must stop them from doing this crap ever again. I know who you are. I know what your blood types are. And I'm telling you right now, before this is over, we're going to stop you. If you want to do this, go do it where you came from. Go back to where you came from and go do it there. Do not show up under the sun doing any of this crap. We're done with you. For the rest of you, have a nice day. And, I'll try to make a video soon, but I've become extremely busy. Looks like I'm not going to be sending my daughter to, a place where she's the only one like her there. I'm not going to do that to her. I got to figure out what I'm going to do about that. Anyway, thank you very much for your time and your attention. Have a nice day.